Welcome back. Let's be honest, you've just come back from a bird photography session, excited to review your shots, you open them up on your computer and a lot of your photos are just blurry. The feathers aren't crisp, the eyes aren't sharp, and the details look soft, muddy or just slightly out of focus. Sound familiar? Well, if you ever ask yourself why are my bird photos sharp, you're not alone. In fact, this is one of the most common issues. And the good news is, there's a reason behind it, and even better, there are solutions. And today I'm going to break down a couple of reasons why your bird photos might not be sharp and exactly what you can do to fix it. So let's get started. When we say a photo is sharp, what we are really talking about is fine detail. A sharp photo doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of several different factors working together. So your focusing, your shutter speed, your camera and lens setup, your technique, and even the environment you're shooting in. Think of sharpness like a chain. Everything has to work together. If one part is weak, the whole chain can fall apart. Exactly, that's why you can do almost everything right and still end up with a blurry image. And yes, if you're a photographer, you will take blurry photos from time to time. It's actually super common and it's something that you can't avoid all the time. So the most important tip is you have to understand why your photo is blurry and how you can solve that specific problem. So let's talk about the most common problems. And the single biggest reason why most bird photos aren't sharp is simple. The shutter speed isn't fast enough. Because birds don't sit still, even when they look perfectly calm on a branch. They are constantly moving around, and the moment they decide to take off, their wings move faster than your eye can even track. So if your shutter speed is too slow, motion blur starts to appear in your images. You may not notice it on the back of your camera, but when you zoom in later, the detail is just gone. So the solution is that you should start thinking about the shutter speed as one of your most important tools. Of course, it totally depends on the image you want to take, but for perched birds, for example, you should be thinking in terms of at least 1/1000th of a second. Double that for birds in flight, and when you're dealing with very small, fast birds, the faster, the better. And yes, you have to increase your ISO, but here's the truth. A noisy photo from high ISO can still be fixed in editing, but a blurry photo from a slow shutter speed can't be fixed at all. So that's why you should always set your focus on getting the best result instead of using slower settings just to avoid high ISO. But now let's move on, and the next tip is all about the autofocus. Your camera's autofocus system is powerful, but only if you use it correctly. Many bird photographers fall into the trap of relying on the wrong settings. For example, if you're using single point focus and accidentally place that point on the bird's body instead of its eye, it's possible that you will miss the shot. If you're using a wide focus area, the camera might grab a branch or the background instead of the bird. And if you're using one-shot autofocus instead of continuous, your camera will lock in once, but as soon as the bird moves, your focus is just gone. So the easiest solution here is to switch to continuous autofocus. This tells your camera to keep tracking the bird as it moves, which is absolutely essential and makes it way easier for you to get that shot. On top, if your camera offers animal or eye detection, turn it on as well. It's one of the biggest advances in modern wildlife photography. If your camera doesn't have eye detection, then train yourself to place your focus on the head or the upper chest. The sharpest part of any bird photo should almost always be the eye, because that's what gives the photo life. And to make it as easy as possible for me, I have set up my Canon R1 that my basic focus is the single dot autofocus. That makes it super easy for me to frame the shot, but as soon as the bird is in front of my lens, I can easily press and hold this button here on the backside of my Canon R1 to activate the animal eye detection in combination with a fast burst rate. That makes it super easy for me to capture photos. But even with fast shutter speed settings and good focus, there's another enemy, your own hands. Because holding a lens like a 200 to 800 or even heavy prime lenses steady is not a small task. So if you're hand holding, stabilize your camera and your body. Breathe steadily and gently squeeze the shutter instead of stabbing at it. On top, if your lens and camera has image stabilization and IBIS, use it as well. Otherwise, consider using a tripod or monopod for extra support. And there's always a simple rule. Your shutter speed should be at least 1 over your focal length. So if you're shooting at 500mm, you want at least 1/500th of a second. For bird photography, go even faster, and yes, in a lot of situations you just need a fast shutter speed. But yeah, another reason why your photos aren't sharp has nothing to do with focus or shaky hands. Sometimes it's the depth of field itself. If you're lucky and you have long lenses that can shoot wide open at f2.8 or f4, your depth of field may only cover a small part of your image, but the rest looks soft or the feathers just behind the head drift out of focus. And yes, when that happens, your photo feels only half sharp, or worse, if you accidentally focus on the wing or the belly, the eye will be blurry. And the solution is to actually stop down. You don't always need to shoot wide open to get a nice blurry background. I personally use the RF 200 to 800, and even at f9 you can separate the bird from the background. So don't be afraid to adjust your aperture if it is necessary to get better results. Now here's another problem many people don't even consider: the location itself. You can have the perfect settings, the perfect focus and the perfect technique, and your photo still looks soft. In this case it's because the air between you and the bird is distorting the image. On hot days, rising heat can make it way harder to capture sharp photos. When you're shooting over long distances, especially across open ground or even over water, those waves blur the details before they even reach your lens. The photo looks like bad focus, but in reality it's the heat working against you. So sometimes the softness isn't your fault, it's simply the location. On top, light is the heart of photography. Without good light, everything gets harder, including sharpness. And the solution is to work with the light instead against it. If it's possible, always try to position yourself so the light hits the bird beautifully, because that is what makes the photo look alive. And again, don't be afraid of higher ISO. In most cases, a sharp photo with noise can be cleaned up in the post-production, but a blurry photo can't be rescued. But now let's move on, and the next mistake is a simple one. A dirty lens with fingerprints or dust will soften your images as well. On top, a scratch or low-quality filter can also destroy sharpness before the light even reaches your sensor. And the fix here is simple: keep your front element clean, so use a microfiber cloth or proper cleaning tools before you start to take photos. Also avoid cheap filters that degrade image quality. And when it's possible, invest in the sharpest lens you can afford, because yes, bird photography can actually push your optics to their limits. So combining a high-end camera with low-quality glass is not the best idea for bird photography, because the truth is your camera is only as good as the glasses in front of it. Another mistake that we need to talk about is relying too heavily on cropping. For example, if the bird is just a tiny dot in your frame and you crop it massively, it's most likely that you will never achieve the razor sharp look you want. Sharpness isn't just about focus, it's also about resolution. The more you crop, the more you're stretching those pixels and the less detail remains. So in this case, I can highly recommend to learn how to approach birds or use longer lenses if you can. Position yourself carefully so you can film more of the frame with the bird in camera. But don't get me wrong here, cropping is absolutely fine, but don't expect high quality images from a heavy crop. Because the sharper the image is in camera, the sharper it will remain after editing. And of course, let's talk about expectations. Sometimes your photos aren't tech sharp because they simply can't be. If you're shooting a bird that's far away, through branches, in dim light or moving unpredictably, it's unrealistic to expect every frame to look like a magazine cover. Even the best bird photographers take hundreds of soft shots. The difference is that they know why those shots failed, and they keep practicing until their odds improve. And yes, bird photography is hard. It demands patience and a willingness to accept that many photos won't work out. And exactly that's why for me the goal isn't about perfection in every shot. The goal is to keep going until you can capture a good result. And in my opinion, the important thing is to ask yourself, why is this photo blurry? When you start to analyze instead of just getting frustrated, you begin to improve your own work. And as you improve, the number of good photos will also grow. So the next time when you're out in the field, remember that every shot is an opportunity to practice your skills. Your bird photos might not be sharp right now, but with some changes, they will be. So, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're new, don't forget to smash that subscribe button to stay updated for upcoming videos, and I'll see you in the next video.